All right, so we are in Judges. I'm going to start with chapter 17, then I'm going to fast forward to 19. But there's this one verse, verse 6, that it's going to kind of summarize, and you're going to start seeing this phrase like for the next 3 chapters. And it's Judges 17, verse 6. In those days, there was no king in Israel, and everyone did what was right in their own eyes. And it's going to be a theme for the next 3-4 chapters because it's going to get dark, it's going to get twisted, it's going to get depraved, it's going to get sad. And this is and it's interesting because this phrase starts off this section right here, and then at the very end of the last chapter of the Bible, it kind of like bookends this same phrase. So it's there and it's there, and everything else that happens in between, it makes sense because everyone was doing right in their own eyes, and was not only was there no central leader, Jesus wasn't even king in Israel at that time, unfortunately. And so everything that happens in between, I get it. And like I said, it's going to be sad. It's going to be dark. And if I had to think of a theme or idea for this last section, this is what happens when the light goes out. The children of Israel were supposed to be the lights. They were supposed to be the guiding factor. They were supposed to be different. But that light went out. And when that light goes from just barely flickering to completely out, you get total darkness. And I know a lot of times when I say this, and I've got to reiterate this, we think, as we read this, we think in terms of, okay, this is what happens in our nation. No, it's not about the nation. It's about when God's people, the church, aren't who they're supposed to be. Yes. And their light goes out and our light goes out. And we start becoming like everyone else around us, then you get everything that happens. All right. So now I'm going to start with chapter 19. In those days, there was no king of Israel. Repeating this phrase. A certain Levite was sojourning in the remote parts of the hill country of Ephraim. He took to himself a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah. So we start out right now, right? Everyone did what was right in their own eyes. He's a Levite. No business with a concubine. You're supposed to be the example of God's law. You're supposed to be the example of marriage and purity. You're supposed to be setting forth the example. You should have a wife and a wife only. Not a wife and a concubine, not several concubines, not a wife, a mistress and a concubine, a wife, and that's period. But whenever you do what's right in your own eyes, guess what? That's what happens. So he took for himself a concubine, and his concubine was unfaithful to him. And she went away from her father's house at Bethlehem in Judah, and there were some 4 months. So once again, she made the commitment to be a concubine. It was like concubines were like second wives. David had his wife, and he would have several other marriages, and they weren't as they didn't have the same status as the main wife, but they still were considered a wife. They just had lower status and priorities. So this concubine, she wasn't faithful to him. And again, everyone did what was right in their own eyes.
So do you think today is like today? Like today, that they break the whole day. In the time of day, it's the same thing that they did back then.
What, being unfaithful to God?
Yeah. They got concubine out of woman, but they do it today, don't they? In the world, talking about, I think it's still the same, but just with time and frames.
Yes. And again, this goes back to children of Israel. I expect the world to do that. The world does what the world does. The duck quacks, the dog barks. But the problem was the children of Israel would see what they're doing over there and say, oh, let me do what they're doing. The dog barks. But when a cat starts barking, okay, that's a problem. When a cat sounds like bark, wait, you're supposed to say meow. Something's wrong. This is not right. And so, go back to your point. Yes, sexual impurity, marital unfaithfulness. It's again because when you don't have the covenant laws and you're not following God's law, everyone does what's right in their own eyes. Children of Israel became just like the people around them. So,
in today's words, I guess everybody did their own thing.
Everyone doing their own thing. And so basically the concubine leaves him. Fast forward, the husband, he starts to go. He says, I'm going to go get her back. He goes down to the girl's father-in-law's house. Verse 4, and the father-in-law, the girl's father, made him stay, and he remained with them 3 days. So somehow they reconciled the differences, and she decided to go back with him, with her master, husband, whatever they want to call it. So they spend the night there. He gets ready to go, but the father-in-law basically says, hey, just go ahead and stay another night. And he said, just wait. And then the next day comes, father-in-law says, hey, it's getting kind of late. Just stay another day. And he keeps staying and staying and staying. And then eventually, verse 10, the man would not spend the night. He rose up and departed and arrived opposite of Jebus, that is Jerusalem. So he said, basically, look, I got to go. And so he finally leaves. He had with him a couple of donkeys and his concubine with him. And when they were near Jebus, the day was nearly over. And the servant said to his master, come now, let us turn aside to this city of the Jebusites. Because at this time it hadn't been conquered yet by David, and it hadn't been quite Jerusalem yet. His master said to him, we would not turn aside to the city of foreigners who do not belong to the people of Israel, but we will pass on to Gibeah. So there's this town, but the town was not inhabited by Israelites. It was still pretty much of the people of the land. And his mindset thinking like, I'm not going to spend the night with the people that aren't the people of God. And I get it, right? You should be safe around the people of God. The people of God, this should be the best business, right? They should have the best customer service. They should be running the best business. They should be the best workers. The people of God should be the best. Your thought process should be, if I'm going to stay anywhere, I'm going to stay somewhere where I know there are children of God, Christians, because they should, emphasis on should, be people of a higher ethical moral standard. Emphasis on should. However, as we go see in this story, as in life, sometimes the people of God are the ones who fail the most. Just a sad reality. All right, so he said, come, let us draw near to one of these places and spend the night at Gibeah or Ramnah. So these were inhabited by Israelites. So they passed on and went their way. And the sun went down near Gibeah, which belongs to Benjamin. So this was the city that was inhabited by the Benjaminites, one of the children of Israel, 12 tribes. And they turned aside there to go in and spend the night at Gibeah. And he went in and sat down in the open square of the city, for no one took him into his house to spend the night. So he goes in there and no one's extending hospitality. He's sitting in kind of the empty square, a bonfire or whatever in the city square, and no one took him in. And behold, an old man was coming from his work in the field at evening. The man was from the hill country of Ephraim. He's a fellow Israelite. He was sojourning in Gibeah, and the men of the place were Benjamites. He lifted up his eyes and saw the traveler in the open square of the city. And the old man said, where are you going? And where do you come from? And he said to him, we are passing from Bethlehem to Judah, to the remote parts of the hill country of Ephraim, from which I come. I went to Bethlehem in Judah, and I'm going to the house of the Lord. But no one has taken me into his house. We have straw and feed for our donkeys. We have bread and wine. In other words, he's saying, look, I don't really need anything. I just need a roof over my head. I'm not going to trouble you for food. I'm not going to trouble you for water. I got all the supplies I need. We just need a place to lay our head. And the old man said, peace to you. I will care for all your wants. He said, just don't spend the night in the square. So automatically he something's up. He kind of knows, hey, look, you don't need to be out here. This isn't the safest place, right? Just come inside, please. And so he brings him aside, and they were in the house, and behold, men of the city, worthless fellows, surrounded the house, beating on the door. Sounds familiar, right? Remember Lot? Yep. And they said to the old man, bring out the man who came into your house that we may know him. Keep in mind, these are Benjamites. These are supposed to be people of God. Supposed to be people of higher ethical moral standards. But unfortunately, every man did what was right in his own eyes. So they, just like Lot, says, hey, bring this man out so that we may know him. Just horrible, right? Just a horrible situation. They want to come out and they want to, sexually abuse this man. And the guy was like, man, look, please, brothers, don't do this so wickedly. This man has come into my house as a guest. Do not do this vile thing. Because Hospitality was a really big, important thing. If you said, I'm going to take care of you, I'm going to bless you, you come to my house, you were under obligation. It was a serious thing to let this person that has come under your protection do harm. Behold, here are my virgin daughters and his concubine. Let me bring them out, violate them, and do with them what seems good to you. But against this man, do not do this outrageous thing. Now, some people trying to say like, oh yeah, well, it's the culture, da 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 da. But here's the principle I want to bring out. When you don't follow God's standard, you try to substitute bad. You try to substitute worse with bad. You try to correct a really bad decision with another bad decision, right? You know, some people say the lesser of two evils. The lesser of two evils is still evil. It sounds good to us. Yeah, you know, sometimes you got to choose the lesser of two evils. Evil is still evil. So yes, I get you don't want this man to be violated, but it's a horrible solution. Well, instead of doing this, here's my daughter and his concubine. But again, every man did what was right in his own eye. It seemed like a logical solution to him because they became like the people around them. And the people around them, we don't value human life. We don't value women. Women are resources and tools and property for us to give, trade away, get one, lose one. That's how we value them. And the Israelites and their covenant laws had laws to protect women, which was unheard of around the ancient Israel days. I know we sometimes think that, okay, it was hard on women, but actually, if you compare Israelite laws, if they would have followed them, they were superior to all near ancient societies regarding women. Remember when Moses or Jesus had this conversation about divorce? And he says, Moses allowed you to write a decree of divorce because of the hardness of your heart. God had basically said, look, I know you jokers. It's not in my will to divorce, but I know you. You're going to accuse this woman of adultery. You're going to kill this woman and stone this woman just so you can get a new woman. So God allowed them to divorce to protect the woman. He said, look, you don't want her? Fine. Write a divorce, put her away that way, because I know you guys. We caught her committing adultery, stoned her. Oh, now I got a new woman. You do what was right in your own eyes. That's not far-fetched. So, short story short, so he says, here's her daughter and her concubine, but the men would not listen to him. So the man seized his concubine and made her go out to him. I'm going to tell you, this story doesn't get any better. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And it ends up like just, okay, what happened here? So he says, okay, look, here's my concubine. And again, when you don't value God's law, you don't value God's standard, people just become a means to an end. You use people, you abuse people, you throw people away as long as you get what you want to get. And it happens. And again, I know we say that happens in the world. I expect the world to do that. The problem is you are Benjamites. You are not supposed to be doing this. That's why people say, oh yeah, man, da, da, da. Yeah, but I expect that from them. What I don't expect is you, my brother and sister in Christ, to do that. And so he says he made them go out to him, and they knew her and abused her all night long until the morning. And as the dawn began to break, they let her go. As morning appeared, the woman came and fell down at the man's door where the master was until it was light. And her master rose up in the morning, and when he opened the doors of the house, he went to go on his way. And behold, there was his concubine lying at the door of the house with her hands on the threshold. He said to her, get up, let us be going. But there was no answer. He didn't come outside and say, oh man, my God, what happened? He didn't come outside and cry. He got outside, stepped over and said, get up, let's go. The story just doesn't get, there's no innocent parties in this story. There's no good. There's no lesser or better of two evils. It's just a whole bunch of bad.
And he was a Levite.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes. And you were a Levite. You were supposed to be not only the God's people, you were the highest of God's people. But again, this is how far they've sunken This is how far they've fallen. This is why I said, when the light goes out, at this point, the light just went out in Israel. And they are no different than the surrounding nations. You should be able to say, I don't want to stop there because that's a pagan town. Let me go to the town of the people of God because I know I'll be safe there. But to go to the town of the people of God, and almost you wonder if he'd be better off in the pagan town. Right? I mean, it seems like he would have fared a little bit better in a pagan town than he would have in his own children of God. But it gets worse.
But then was Levite priest back then?
Yes. 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 He should. He should have been better. Well, he not necessarily a high priest, but he was.
The tribe.
Yes, of the tribe. Yes. 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 So they were the ones to read the law, to enforce the law, to be the standard. Yes. Yes. And so he takes her up. He takes a knife. He cuts her up in 12 pieces, limb by limb. And that act is not uncommon, right? When Saul goes to war, he takes a lamb. He offers the lamb as a sacrifice, and he cuts it up and he sends it all to the 12 tribes. It's kind of like a call to arms. And you would take, but he does this with his concubine. I would venture to say, when you start hanging around with pagans, you start doing the things that pagans do. Because this is not normal. You don't cut up. God has specific laws about mutilating, violating bodies, because he wanted them to be different. He didn't want them to mutilate themselves or mutilate. And this was something that pagans would do. Now, they would do this with sacrifices. You offer up a lamb, and then you take that sacrifice, divide it up, and give it to each tribe of Israel. But he takes his concubine, cuts her up in 12 pieces, and sends it out to all the Israel. It's basically starting a war.
The time they do the same thing. When people go to the world get messed up out there, killing each other.
Yeah.
Each other, finding baby in the temple.
Yeah. But again,
But that was out there.
the people of God should be better. And he says, and all who saw it, such a thing has never happened from this day that the people of Israel came up out of the land of Egypt to this day. Consider, take counsel, and speak. And so basically, he's about to go to war. And I struggle with this because is he going to war because this is really a bad thing? Or is he going to war because his pride is hurt and ego? Because you didn't seem too concerned when you walked over her and you were like, come on, let's get up and go. Right? It almost makes it what if it's just more of a selfish ego pride. You know what I mean? You made me look bad. I don't think you cared for her at all. I know you didn't because, yeah. And so, I mean, so.
You wonder why he went to get her. I mean, he went all the way to her father's house to get her, and then he treats her that way. It makes no sense, any of this story, hardly.
I know it's like I said, it's a bad story. It's yes. You just can't make sense of it. There's no. I've heard people trying to make, oh yeah, no, there's no sense of it. It's just a big ball of badness. And so he goes out and he's getting ready to start civil war. I say it gets worse. So then all the people of Israel came out from Dan to Beersheba, and they essentially, they says, tell us, how did this evil happen? And the Levite, the husband of the woman who was murdered, answered, I came to Gilgal that belongs to Benjamin. I and my concubine to spend the night. And the leaders of Gilgal rose against me and surrounded the house to me by night. They meant to kill me, and they violated my concubine, and she is dead. I mean, you were a coward. Just no way around it. I would have like, look, we're gonna barricade these doors. We're gonna grab some weapons, and you're gonna have to come. You're gonna have to get to me. So you know what I mean. Come bring it. We ain't here. You know what I mean. And we would have died, right? But he took the coward's way out.
I guess you could say he's saying it's all about me and nothing about you.
That's what it appears to me.
Yeah.
That's what I get.
Yeah.
That's 100% what I gather is that it ain't about doing what's right. It's about me.
I'm wondering if it's pride.
And-
That's probably
yes.
that's probably why he went to get her. And there she.
Yes.
That might be the whole.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Like, that's some pride and ego stuff to where I don't want to lose. You know what I mean? Not that I want you. I just don't want to, You're right. It's kind of like in high school, the person breaks up with the person just because they don't want them to break up with them. You know, so I'm gonna break up with you before you break up with me. And he says, all the people of Israel said, none of us will go into our tent. None of us will return to our house. Verse 8. And they basically take a bunch of people and they go to Benjamin and they says, hey, what is this evil that has taken place? Give up the worthless fellows that we may put them to death and purge this evil from Israel. And you would think the Benjaminites, like, you right, them dudes, they went too far. Let's get all the people responsible and let's punish the people responsible. But no, they said, no, we're not giving them up. They stuck up for them.
Well, look back at 5 a little bit.
Okay, 5. All right.
And he kind of acts like, he doesn't tell I threw her out there. He just said in King James, it's kind of like they came and got her. He didn't tell he threw her out.
Right. So the story kind of like changes. Yes. I noticed that. So the story is kind of like, that's not exactly how that story went,
They
sir.
grabbed her up, he threw her out there.
Yes. So how quickly he changed the story to meet his needs. So again, just horrible. So they go to the people of Israel, right? And they say, hey, or Benjamin, they say, give us the people, we may punish them. The Benjamin's like, no, we ain't giving them. Then the people, the rest of the other 12 tribes, 11 tribes said, okay, we gonna fight. We gonna go to war. And Benjamin said, all right, and it's amazing. This is how far corrupt you got. You're willing to start a civil war behind a handful of corrupt, evil, moral people. And I think the text indicates that these were like high-standing people, leaders in the town. So you're willing to start a whole civil war over some just morally corrupt people because of their status or position or wealth or whatever. But again, every man did what was right in his own eyes. So the people of Israel, verse 18, arose and went up to Bethel and inquired of God. Okay, now you inquire of God. we went through like 15 chapters and nobody prayed to God, and now you pray to God. I guess better late than never. Who shall go up and fight first for us against the people of Benjamin? And the Lord says Judah. Then the people of Israel rose in the morning and they camped against Gibeah, and the men of Israel went out to fight against Benjamin. And they basically, they went to fight and they lost. So they go up a second day. Benjamin went against Gibeah the second day, destroyed 18,000 of the people of Israel. So they fight again and they basically lose again. And so they go and they ask again, shall we go out once more to battle against our brothers, the people of Benjamin, or shall we cease? And the Lord says, go up for tomorrow. I will give them into your hand. So they set an ambush, right? And they draw out, they get their people, they draw them out to fight. They start losing, but they have another group of people to go in behind them, burn the city to set an ambush so that the Benjamites look back, see their family. And at this point, as you're looking back, they come on one side, they come on the other side, and they ambush them. And at that point, they start to win. The rest of the 11 tribes, they start to win. And the Lord defeated, verse 35, Benjamin before Israel. And the people of Israel destroyed 25,000 Benjamites that day. All these were men who drew the swords. And the men of Israel gave ground to Benjamin because they trusted in the men of the ambush. The men in the ambush hurried and rushed against Gilboa. And the men in the ambush moved out and struck all the city with the edge of the sword. So they basically go, kill everybody in the city, women, children, babies, wipe the city out, kill all the men. They've already defeated most of the soldiers, and it's going to end up being some like 600 people left. And they pursue them. 18, verse 44, 18,000 men of Benjamin fell, all men of valor. And then they fled towards the wilderness. 5,000 were cut down on the highway. But 600 men turned and fled toward the wilderness of the rock of Rimmon. And then all the people of Israel turned back against the people of Benjamin and struck them with the edge of sword. The city, the men, and the beasts, all that they found. And all the towns that they found, they set on fire. Now the men of Israel had sworn at Mizpah, none of us shall give our daughters to marriage in Benjamin. So they were upset at what happened, and they made an oath, like, look, we ain't giving none of our daughters to our cousins in Benjamin because they're just corrupt and wicked. And it got to the point after they start slaughtering, their bloodlust kind of got fulfilled. They stopped and realized, man, there's only 600 people left. If we kill them all, there's no more 12 tribes of Israel, right? And they said, okay, hold on. I think we punished them enough. Like, you kind of think you pretty much just about wiped out the tribe. You know what I mean? I'm glad you stopped now, but maybe you should have stopped like 3,000 people ago, right? You know, maybe you shouldn't have killed the wives. You know, I'm just throwing out some ideas here. But he says, okay, chapter 21, the people came to Bethel and sat there till evening before God, and they lifted up their voices and wept. And they said, O Lord of God of Israel, why has this happened to Israel that there should be one tribe lacking? So they offer a sacrifice, and they're trying to come to a conclusion. Because remember, everyone does what's right in their own eyes. And they're trying to correct a bad decision with another bad decision. We made a vow that we can't give them our daughters. We killed everybody. There's only 600 people left. How are they going to procreate? So this is where it just gets worse. They said, oh, you know what? There was one town that didn't go to war, and they didn't make the vow. Oh, yeah, that's right. The one town. See where I forgot what that town was. Jabesh Gilead. So Jabesh Gilead, for whatever reason, didn't go to war, or either they got delayed or didn't go or whatever. And so they didn't make the oath. So great, they didn't make the oath. So the ideal thing would be, hey, here's the situation going on. Do you mind giving us your daughter so we can have the Lord's? No. One bad idea begets another bad idea. I know. We'll just kill them all and take their daughters. Again, the story just gets worse. It's just one bad idea. Yes. So we made an oath not to give them our daughters. We got to honor the oath. We got to procreate so we can have another tribe. Oh, there was one town that didn't make the oath. All right, what we going to do? Kill them all and take their daughters. But wait, it gets worse. It's only 400 of them. Golly. And it's 600. So what are we going to do now? So they put their big, bright heads together and come up with some, I mean, facetious, but yeah, they come together, they put their minds, their crooked little corrupt minds together. And they say, oh, you know what? There's an annual